What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Main Event Wrestling Cards podcast. My name is Adam Gelman. Thank you for joining us here for another episode. Man, we are moving quickly through the summer, and I wanted to take some time to hop back on and talk about some of the things that actually just got released from Tops this morning. I'm going to talk a little bit about Monday Night Raw and some of the implications there because it was a big show. I got to actually be there in person, which I'll tell the story here another time because it's just too much to tell, and this plus all the other stuff I wanted to talk about. But if you are listening on Apple or Spotify, please don't hesitate to like or subscribe. And if you want to leave some reviews there as well, I would highly appreciate it. For those of you on YouTube, I'm hoping that you'll do the same. But yeah, this is a really interesting time to be a wrestling card collector. You can see in my office that things are getting crazy here with back to school. So we've got some school supplies, we've got construction going on. I'm finally putting a door on my office. So that's why the background behind me, if you're watching on YouTube, is so crazy. But let's talk about Monday Night Raw. And for somebody being there in person, this whole Netflix era is an absolute experience. The entire place was sold out, and you could feel it. Like there was like an actual like palpable feeling in the building. And when they got going with Seth Rollins and the Vision, it was just, I mean, you could feel the crowd just getting into it. The other thing that I think sort of came out of this entire show was that WWE is committed to delivering this larger than life sort of storytelling that I think that they have really sort of gotten beyond positive responses around. And they really did that with the Naomi announcement, which I think they kind of learned their lesson from what happened with Becky Lynch back in before the COVID era sort of really took off. But I'll get to all of that. I think if I had to sort of help you guys understand that what you see on the camera is not the way that it comes across, uh, perfectly transition from what is going on in person. They must have struggled with miking these crowds because it was loud as hell. And I can't even begin to explain how much that does not come across as efficiently as it should on camera. They did a match with Io Sky and Raquel Rodriguez, I think it was, and that Rhea Ripley pop was just unlike anything I've ever heard. And on camera, I mean, it comes across like she got a massive pop, but I don't think you really understand it. And if people are complaining Rhea never shouldn't be getting the opportunities she has, she's always around the title picture. There is a reason why that is the case. That place came unglued for her, and she's clearly the star of this division. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She is everything that she is cracked up to be, and I can't say enough about how much the crowd reacted to her coming out and being with Io. Um, the other thing was like I think the match with Becky Lynch and Natalia was really well done. They really told the story that they needed to tell. Plus, Nikki Bella coming back and getting her heat after Becky absolutely buried her on TV, and it was everywhere. They tried to give her a moment to shine. I think that I'm just not a Nikki Bella fan. I've said that on this podcast before. I think it's sort of a placeholder feud for Becky to get another sort of big win under her belt for this title run. And when you hear my story that I'll tell here over the next couple of weeks, you'll understand why this was so special to be there to see her and Natalia wrestle and see her come out on top the way that they did was just awesome. Um, but the big news of the night, Naomi is pregnant, relinquishing the title. And I mean, that probably got as big a pump as Rhea Ripley did last night. And good for Naomi, man. Like that, I'm glad for once the wrestlers get to experience something positive in relinquishing a belt instead of just a nasty injury. There's a lot of speculation that this is what was going to happen. But seeing it in confirmation, just seeing the way that she behaved and reacted was just so well done. I loved every minute of it. She's been great in that type of a role. Even though I'm not a huge fan of her gimmick, I think like the way that this all got played out was absolutely awesome. The main event was great. Just because it's Philadelphia, you knew that they were going to do something for ECW. Paul Heyman with a line of the night, like I don't even think Tommy Dreamer is dead, but he should be. Was just we popped for that, but it was good. I mean, like the whole show was well put together. Ran a little long because they do international stuff in between. There's no commercials for the international Netflix stuff, so they run promos and stuff in the arena. That was kind of cool. New Day did a promo, Trick Williams and a few others did a promo, like, but you don't see that as much on the US side of it because they go to commercial. But the show did feel like in between the action, it was kind of the same WWE that it's always been because they have to like really get things going. But in the action in the ring was unmatched. I mean, Mr. Iguana got a was just got a huge reaction, and I was shocked that Dragon Lee comes out. He hasn't really been on TV. He's been working hard. You can clearly see the guy is putting in every effort. But this guy with a puppet is the most over person in the entire match was just hilarious. So overall, great experience. Just I can't say enough good things about how WWE produces their shows. I'll tell the other story as best I can here over the next couple of weeks because it's really I really just can't put it into words. I won't keep previewing it because people are going to be like, well, what's going on? But I promise you, it's worth it. So stay tuned for main event wrestling cards. I'll probably post it on the Patreon group as soon as I have the words to explain what went down. All positive, all amazing. Don't worry, nothing bad. Trust me on that. Let's talk about actually another thing that I think I got to experience over the last couple of weeks, which is the my experience going into a Dick's Sporting Goods and their new collector clubhouse, which I was not expecting to come to Minneapolis. I was getting some baseball stuff done for my son who gets equipment and at Dick's just like every kid who plays little league and beyond. I walked through the store just to go downstairs to see if they had some batting gloves and see this collecting mecca, we'll say, in the middle of the store. And you walk in and it's right by the entrance, so it's hard to miss. They have jerseys and all sorts of like just huge amounts of stuff, jerseys, signed jerseys, like Swarovski signed helmets, baseballs, posters, everything. They have clothing, so Tops has like a huge amount of like t-shirts and stuff that you can buy. You can buy mini helmets, you can buy whatever you want. And they really are focusing this area around how collectors are going to potentially experience this for the first time. So don't think about going into Dick's and expecting that you've seen something you haven't seen at your local card shop. We are not the target audience for what is going on. It is more trying to capture the target audience of a casual sports fan. And it's really cool to see that this is finally coming to be a thing. Sports cards were huge in the pandemic. We knew that, but there wasn't a way for people to get out of their house and truly experience it, right? We knew that shops were closed, every people were staying home. That's what caused this boom. But now that doesn't have to be the case anymore. And I think like Dick's is really saying, okay, we're going to capitalize on this. We're going to figure out a way to get involved with sports cards and do it a way that hasn't been done before. And they have been very successful. And I'll tell you in a second here why that's the case. So I walk in, the first thing you see is just rows after row after row of blasters from Panini, Tops, everything. And they seem to have a heavier Fanatics focus than they do Panini for obvious reasons, but that doesn't mean that they don't have Panini stuff there. In front of you, you have hobby boxes, you have Pokemon, everything. It is at market price versus retail price. So don't go in expecting to get boxes of Pokemon cards at target prices. They are priced according to what the market, maybe even a little above what the market is. It's kind of what you would expect for seeing hobby stuff in a retail setting. So that really didn't surprise me. All of the under wraps Fanatics stuff, so the jerseys, the helmets, the baseballs, those are all priced at retail prices. So you can get the Fanatics under wraps SummerSlam helmets for 150 bucks a box. You can get it for 150 bucks a box at Dick's. So that stuff is more aligned to the model I think that Dick's is planning to use here, and it was really cool. I mean, I think they've just gotten started, so I think this will evolve even further over the next couple of months and years. But they seem to be in this for the long run, and given the access that they have to sports fans of all ages, all types, all income brackets, this could be something that I don't think people were expecting to be as successful as it was. And I hope it's successful because I want the hobby to expand. I want more people to see the benefit of being a part of this community. And I think Dick's accessing that casual sports fan, which are in the every major metropolitan city has a Dick's Sporting Goods. Even some that aren't major metropolitan cities have Dick's Sporting Goods. Everybody goes there. They're going to see these cards. They're going to see the Pokemon. I talked to the guy. They have a specialized representative that works there. He seemed to have sort of just gotten started because the thing only opened a couple of weeks before I showed up. And he said, I get a lot of questions on Pokemon more than sports cards. I have collected sports cards. He has information, he has training. He was able to answer questions on a lot of the product. So good job in getting that guy up to speed and everything. I think that went well for them. And I like, listen, I'm not the target audience. I go to card shops, I go to shows, like I know what I'm looking for. But there are going to be people who will come in and talk to this guy and say, hey, what should I buy? And he'll be able to sort of direct them through. There may be corporate strategy involved there where he may push certain products over others, especially as Fanatics takes over NBA and NFL in October and April. They're going to have people like Dick's at the forefront of their experience as a welcome wagon, and they're going to need representatives to be able to support that. So I ended up buying a SummerSlam mini helmet. I got really, really lucky and I pulled Roman Reigns. So I was really excited about that. I traded it for Becky Lynch because that's obviously you can if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it behind me. I was really excited to get that because she came back and at WrestleMania, so I got to get that mini helmet. But the win at SummerSlam was fun. So I wanted to get that mini helmet, and as much as Roman Reigns is awesome, Becky Lynch is my collection. So I did make that trade. Um, I want to also talk about Topps Finest and Topps Exalted. So we've seen over the last few weeks that they're starting to sign Topps Exalted now. They seem to have finished the Finest signings because surprise, Topps Finest is coming to pre-order next week, and wow, the cards really look awesome. I think Topps Chrome was a bit of a mixed bag for some collectors. Some of the sets were great. Some of the sets left a lot to be desired. I'm sure there'll be elements of that to Finest. But, when you look at how Finest is sort of coming into play here, they chose exactly the right direction for it to go. They're including a couple of extra sets that haven't been included in this Finest product before. It doesn't seem to be relic focused like it has been in the past. It seems to be driven by the autographs, which I guess maybe is why we're seeing it again before Topps Universe, which we had on the docket here expected to be released sometime in the near future. And here's another set jumping a place in line. But I'm okay with that. This set looks great. I was shocked to see that they chose Finest Masters. Um, Finest Masters is a legacy set from the early days of Finest. And if you remember back to like the turn of the century, new millennium, 2000, the Michael Jordans from those sets sell for insane amounts of money. They're bringing it to wrestling with autographs and superfractors and everything. It looks so good. We also have a set called The Finest, which is probably the best designed set of the entire sort of preview that we got. Rhea Ripley, Stone Cold Steve Austin, they've been part of this preview. I'm sure it'll be a top-notch set with many of the main event names signing for it. I mean, overall, like the actual content of the products is still sort of a mystery. The base autographs have like this spray paint sort of street vibe to them, don't really fit with the rest of the motif of the preview that we got, which I still have a major issue with. I like a cohesive set. I like when everything sort of like tells the story through the whole product. But I mean, every one of these cards looks really cool. And I think Topps Finest is absolutely going to be more popular than Cactus Jack just because it has that legacy. But Cactus Jack is going to come out well before Topps Finest does. So we'll have actually a product followed by a product similar to what we had with Panini. And then as Exalted and Universe and Royalty are released, by the end of the year, we should have a pretty good stable of WWE products that they're bringing to market every year. I think this finest set looks better than any of the previous ones they've done. It has better chase content than any of the previous sets they've done. So I'm really, really interested to see what Topps can do to translate that into something that makes sense for an entire product and continually bring it back year after year. I think from a pre-order perspective, now that we've seen Cactus Jack sell for 400 a box on pre-order, like it wouldn't surprise me if Topps Finest was pre-ordered around the same amount. I think ideally it's $150 to $200 product, but things change all the time. So I think it's something that we'll have to see how it plays out next week. Should be another EQL release. There should be potentially a retail version of this as well. I don't think Cactus Jack is going to have retail, but Topps Finest probably will. So that'll be a return to the shelves for people who get their card content that way. There'll be a nice set to collect. It won't be as absolutely crazy of a high value sort of base set. It'll be more focused on sort of the traditional elements of a hobby set being released. But yeah, I mean, like these are the types of things that Topps is going to do and do frequently. They're going to do inscriptions. They're going to use their access. I got to see some of that last night, and I'll get into that a little bit more as we get going. But I think the machine that Topps is starting to build here is going to run, and it's going to run well. I hope that we continue to see products coming in a more regular clip. This seems to be an indication that that's the case. So, as we get going into this, like, let's hope that all of this sort of plays out as well as it looks. I'm curious what happens to the value of the inscriptions if every set is going to have them, and I think every set is going to have them. So will they become less special? Potentially is sort of like the question in my mind. And I think for the chase element of the inscriptions may be devalued the more of them that hit the market. But I think the exceptional value that they achieve for these sets is not going to go away. I think they will be significantly more expensive than a regular autograph. I think that goes without saying. But I'm curious how the chase element is expected to change over time as more of them are made available. I think the wrestlers are going to sign different things overall. So people may value certain inscriptions over others. Like Rhea Ripley in this product has an insert superfractor that says "Mommy is already always on top," which I think will probably be one of her most valuable inscriptions. It's the line that she's the most well known for. She's signed Rhea Bloody Ripley a couple of times in previous sets. I think this one is going to be more valuable than that. It looks cooler because they chose better photos. So overall, like from a photography perspective, this looks better. A lot more sort of traditional sort of approach to photography, which I love. I didn't like the whole smiley wrestler thing. I like the more serious, like we're gonna be world beaters here type of look that Rhea has, and they've got Stone Cold looking awesome. They got CM Punk looking awesome. So Io Sky has a couple cards here in the preview that look great. But let's talk about these dual autographs because they've tried this before in the previous run. If you go back to Chrome, there was a set of dual autographs. They've done multi-sign cards across a number of products before. It has never been on card. These look absolutely bananas. The Randy Orton Triple H one looks so cool. The Shawn Michaels and Triple H one, obviously something that people will gravitate towards. Um, I think the dual autographs and finest are a cool idea, especially if they're on card. I'd like to see more multi-signed cards as long as one of the signers doesn't bring the card down. So like this is a rivalry set, so you have Orton and Triple H, obviously you have Michaels and Triple H signing together. I'd love to see a Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair one on card or something to that degree. Like those are the types of things that I think these types of sets are going to be perfect for. The design is great. I love when they do dual autographs with the sort of design where they have the wrestler on each side and the autographs in the middle. It opens up a lot of space. They are horizontal instead of vertical, and I think they look better. But collectors don't like horizontal cards; they like vertical cards. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. I also believe that as we get more into some of the high end sets like Royalty, multi-sign cards are going to be a bigger factor. But yeah, this is it. This is the really sort of big name product coming back. Topps Finest and Topps Chrome anchored their redesign of the WWE license in 2020. They were both released in 2021 as well. I think this is much more of a well-developed approach, and we'll have to see. Like when we did this in 2020, Finest was kind of an afterthought. And I think the cards looked really good back in 2020, but nothing like this. 2021, I thought was a pretty weak set. The checklist was relatively weak. Um, that's not going to be this. This is going to be the top names for everything Roman Reigns, The Rock, you name it. So maybe we get our first pack pulled Roman Reigns Rock signed card in this. But I would love to see where the checklist goes and stuff like that. Last thing I want to talk about for this podcast is the checklist was released for Cactus Jack, so we do have a better understanding of what's going to be included in that set. Um, Everything that was included in the previous sort of WrestleMania set seems to be a part of this. You do have autographs from The Rock and stuff. And Travis Scott, sorry. I wasn't sure if that was going to be the case, but it is. We have a couple of new signers in Jordan Grace, Ricky Saints, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Motor City Machine Guns are signing. So they've added some stuff to it. But I think this set is going to be interesting because there isn't an autograph per box. Looking at the checklist, there are Hogan autographs in this as well, so this could end up being his final on-card autographs that they have. I'm curious, maybe if they got finest done too, we'll have to see. Universe he probably signed for because they signed that a long time ago. So we've still got a few sets where Hogan is going to be included in that. But yeah, I mean, like there's no Blake Monroe. That was kind of a disappointment. No Ray Phoenix. None of those guys are in this because I think the checklist was probably developed around WrestleMania timeframe. But Jordan Grace is going to be a nice little chase that they've added here. And the inserts look really cool. I think the inserts in this set are going to be the star. They do have a lot of inscriptions as well, so that could be a potential, uplift in value. I don't know if they're going to be able to capture the Cactus Champions because if you look at the WrestleMania version of it, those Cactus Champions cards are selling for insane money. I think the Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, CM Punk, all of those cards have sold for an absolute ton. They continue to sell a ton above what their base cards are going for in the parallels that are available. It's the only super fractor available in the WrestleMania set. None of that is happening in this set, so those will look like they will be a one-off. And then that just sort of adds to the allure of those or those cards and the approach that collectors are having for those. But the Astro Knights and the Transmasters or whatever it is, I'm curious how the market's going to respond. I think it definitely takes a certain type of person. But overall, I mean, it's going to be a fun product. It's going to be something that everybody gets really excited about because we haven't had product on the market. But now with stuff coming fast and furious, I'm I'm wondering if the value maybe takes a little bit of a hit. Boxes may not be as expensive, which I think is what everybody wants. So out of the gate, you might want to take a pause on some of the Cactus Jack stuff and wait for Finest and see how everything mixes together. And then if we get Exalted or Universe right after that, then maybe there's something that sort of speaks to the market getting some of the supply to quell the demand. But yeah, this is the checklist is is something that I think a lot of people were waiting to see, to judge. And it has its good stuff. Like there's like if you sign for one of the subsets, you're not in any of the other subsets. So they did vary the autograph content. So there's not like a Roman Reigns that has an autograph in three different subsets. He only has the one. Same with Hogan and Rock and everybody and Travis Scott. So I'm curious, just like I am, like curious is really the word of the podcast here, because there's so many question marks here for WWE cards being as hot as they are and the market being as hot as it is, to see how this all is going to play out. And it's been a long time. It's been a long time since we've had product on the market. It's been a long time since any of this has really come to fruition. And now that we see sort of the methodology that Topps is using to create these products, everybody is going to see the power behind the machine here. And I got to witness it a little bit last night, just sort of being around this whole situation, which I'll talk about here over the next few weeks, and sort of walking through and seeing how they're doing it. But it's really cool to see that Topps is taking this as seriously as they are. Not saying Panini didn't, but yeah, this is going to be the new era, and it's something that I think, as unsuccessful as the first six months were due to lack of product, I think the next 6 months are going to be that much more successful. So, just if this is your thing and this is what you like, it is for me, then this is going to be a great time for you. Stay tuned to Main Event Wrestling Cards for a number of different things that I'll discuss over the next couple of weeks. I've been recapping a lot of stories around the hot market, sort of the bull market run, as I've heard it referred to on other podcasts. I've been talking about like what are some of the contributing factors to that. I've talked about some of the other aspects of it, growing with the community, the impact it has on social media. All of that is on the website. Be sure to check it out, subscribe, become a member of our Patreon group, www.patreon.com/main event wrestling cards. And there's going to be continued content on here. I'm going to try to do some special episodes, get some interviews done with important individuals in our community, dealers, Topps, etc. I'm trying to get all of that arranged, so stay tuned here as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Once again, this is the Main Event Wrestling Cards podcast, and my name is Adam Gelman. Thanks for listening.